In this video I want to answer two questions. How did I spend that money and more importantly, why? So let's start with the last one. This is my first 3D game ever. Zero experience in 3D modeling, shaders, materials, you name it. Which means everything took way longer than expected. And as you know, time is money. I'm not even counting the early prototypes, those were just my training ground. Anyway, here's the order of kings. First prototype, basic mechanics, first map layout, replacing cubes with real assets, adding side maps, redoing the first map again with better assets. And now it's been 4 years. Yup, 4 years. That's a lot of dollars. I'm broke, and I'm not even halfway through development. Will I ever make that money back? Maybe, or maybe not. But that's not the point of this video. I want to show you how I got here, why I kept going, and why investing in your dreams, even the crazy impossible ones, might still be totally worth it. And I live in Switzerland, where the cost of living is basically extra ultra deluxe edition. So yeah, around $100 an hour. For a freelance game artist. Yep, that's a lot of money, I know. But this is life in Switzerland. So let's start with the concept. I didn't want to make something massive or overly ambitious. I wanted something simple, but rich in feeling. Something that focused on the thing I know how to do well, environments and atmospheric exploration. I've always loved games where the world itself is the main storyteller, where you don't read a wall of text, but you feel what happened by simply walking around. That's what I wanted to create. A story told through exploration where every place whispers a fragment of meaning. Just environmental storytelling. But there is one more layer. The story won't unfold in a fixed way. It will adapt based on what the player decides to explore. The places you visit, the path you ignore, the order in which you uncover the world, all of this will subtly shape what you learn and how you interpret the story. I love the idea that two players could walk through the same world and come out with completely different understandings of what really happened. It's not about winning, it's about discovering. The reward is the emotion itself, the curiosity, the wonder, the little spark you feel when something in the world clicks in your mind. The next step was turning that idea into something that actually worked. So I started building my first prototype. Simple mechanics, basic movements, jumping, camera control. The first map, let's just say it was Wrath. Inspired by the opening area of Jack and Dexter, but built entirely by someone who had no idea what they were doing. But that's how you learn, right? Every mistake taught me something. Every "this look hopeful" moment became a new skill. I slowly began to understand Unreal Engine and how much power and pain it hides under the hood. Those prototypes were ugly, buggy, and absolutely essential. Once the core mechanics were solid, it was time to give them a real playground, the open map. And when I say open map, I really mean a massive grey wastelands of cubes. At that stage, everything was just placeholders, simple shapes standing in for buildings, cliffs, trees, anything. It looked ridiculous, but it was one of the most important steps in the process. This stage isn't about beauty, it's about pacing and rhythm. I wanted to feel how players will move through the world, where they stop, where they'd climb, how far they could see. I spent weeks just walking through that grey desert, tweaking distances by a few meters, adding fake walls to guide exploration, adjusting slopes to make traversal feel right. It was like choreography, except instead of dancers, I had cubes. This was also the phase where I truly started understanding game feel. How the environment affects the emotion of exploration, how verticality changes curiosity. Even if it looked boring, the bones of the game were forming. And they matter way more than the skill. After weeks I was desperate to see color. So I began crafting the visual assets, rock, trees, grass, small architectural prompts. I'm not a professional 3D artist, but I've always loved composing scenes, so I approached it like painting, focusing on the mood, color harmony and contrast. The main inspiration, Studio Ghibli. Not to copy their style, but to capture their feeling, that cozy, almost nostalgic atmosphere, where every leaf and clouds feels alive. I spent months studying grass, bushes and trees. Even a simple stone had to feel handcrafted. And when I placed my first real asset in the world, it felt like magic. Suddenly, this dead gray map came to life. It had soul, it had identity. For the first time, I could walk through it and think, okay, this could actually be a game. Then came one of the most satisfying and also painful steps, replacing all the placeholders cubes with the real assets. It sounds simple. Just swap boxes for trees, right? Not exactly. Every replacement changed the feeling of space. Lighting, scale, navigation, everything needed readjusting. So I had constantly iterate, replace, test, fix lighting, redecoration. It was exhausting, but every pass made the world more believable. And even though I kept breaking things, each iteration was one step closer to something that felt alive. Finally, after a month, I had a wall I could actually show people. It wasn't finished, but it was tangible. I had mood, light, depth, a place that invited exploration. That moment felt like a small victory. Now it's time for the side open areas. Working on those was eye-opening. Each one felt like a small, self-contained experiment. A chance to try new lighting, new textures, new emotions. And the more I refined them, the more confident I became. But then something happened. One day I went back to my original main map. The one I had poured months into. The one I thought was done enough. And it hit me like a brick. It looked awful. Then came the part every developer dreads. Starting over. Because now I had knowledge I didn't have before. The new version came together faster, cleaner and smarter. I finally understand how to build modular environments, how to optimize assets. Rebuilding felt to me something crucial. Sometimes you have to destroy your old work to make room for something better. The new map didn't just look better, it felt better. Every area had purpose, every path had intention. And for the first time, I wasn't just learning to make a game. I was actually making one. And here's the thing. After all that work, I'm still not halfway done. But honestly, I don't see that as a failure anymore. Because every hour I've spent, every dollar, every frustration taught me something real. I've grown not just as a developer, but as an artist, a storyteller, and a person. This game might never go viral, it might never make back its costs. But it gave me something more valuable. Proof that I can do it. Proof that I can turn an idea into something that exists. Something you can walk through. And that's the beauty of creating games. Even if it breaks your wallet or your sanity, it reminds you why you started, to build worlds worth exploring. So, if you're watching this and you have a dream, don't wait for the perfect time, the perfect skill set, or the perfect budget. Just start. Build something small, something honest, because even the simplest idea can grow into something incredible if you don't give up on it.